So I lost all the footage of me like doing the talk about the V3X. Like I unloaded the card from the camera and then I put it in the computer and it was like, I'm sorry. If you want the short story, this is the best hunting bow I've ever shot. The all-new 2022 Mathews V3x 33. We don't just want to sell you a $1,300 bow, we want to sell you $1,000 worth of accessories that you already own. If we made a list of things that were truly important in a bow, what would those things be? How does the V3X match up to that this year? As I pulled out my VXR and I was taking the accessories off of it, I noticed how much dirt and crap was on that bow from all the shooting that I did last year with it. Going bear hunting in Idaho and sitting on the back of a four-wheeler the entire time behind Tim Connor and his sweaty, smelly ass. Taking it to Texas and crawling through the different types of red dirt and then sitting in the whitetail blind in all sorts of different conditions, the hot, the cold, the snow, the rain, the wet, you name it. And one of the things that I came up to that was kind of a core tenet to what you would want out of a bow, or what I would want in a bow, and I encourage you in the comments to leave things that I may have missed out or may not have thought about. Durability and repeatability. Durability, which leads to repeatability, is the number one thing. I feel like it has to be. And here's why. If I told you that you had a bow that was going to shoot 400 feet per second, but 1 out of every 50 shots was going to fall drastically short. It was going to shoot, 200 feet per second. Would you risk taking that bow into the woods? Or if I told you that this is the best bow that exists, it's the most accurate, it's the best of all the worlds, but if you torque it a little bit on the shot, the string is going to roll off the actual cams. I don't think we would. When it comes to durability and the V3x 33, I can't think of a more durable bow that I've ever shot. Mathews has always had a fairly beefy platform. Like, look at these cams. And the cams have changed slightly as the years have gone by. They started on like the Halon 32, and over the years they've added these small kind of reinforcement ribs. The channel that the actual strings sit down in, it sits deep inside of there. Some of the bows, the string sits kind of more on the surface, but this one seems to be protected and tucked in. And on the back of the cam, when the bow is at rest, there are these two wings that kind of rest alongside. So if the bow falls backwards, or if it's leaning against something, or more likely, if you're at draw and you're going to let down, potentially that last little bit where maybe things get a little wonky when you're trying to let down, maybe the string just doesn't happen to roll off the cam on this bow where it might have with some of the other bows. The cable keepers that are over the roller guard. Such a subtle, small little thing that you wouldn't necessarily think about, but keeping those cables on those actual rollers, even if they become displaced potentially, may save you a trip to the shop. The only plastic parts that I can find on this bow are the top hats. That's it. It's a non-moving part. There's no threads on it, there's no screws, there's nothing that holds it together. The only thing that it is designed to do is to create space between a fixed limb and a bearing that's inside the cam. So the bearing is the part that is actually resting against it, and the inner wheels on the bearing are what is spinning. So there's no friction being created against those plastic parts. All the screws and bushings and everything that I can find about this bow, except those top hats, are metal. Adding to the durability is the new bridge lock system, where the bow actually mounts the sight directly through the riser. And I was thinking about this, why would this be more durable? It's less screws to come loose. Every sight that I've seen requires at least 2 screws to mount to the bow. This requires 1. The sights that I like the most for this type of thing require 3 screws. And again, we've backed it down from 3 to 1. So it's an improvement, and it may seem small, but that's where we are in the bow world. We're chiseling away those last tiny little details, reaching for perfection, given the level of technology for the amount of money that the public is willing to spend right now. The accumulation of all of these materials put together in a way that has led to my favorite bow that I have ever owned, and the best hunting bow that I have ever shot. So the next thing after durability, because all those previous things to me are under durability, those are subcategories of durability, is accuracy. To have accuracy, you have to have something that is a repeatable shot over and over again. And what I have always personally found is the better a bow holds, the less shaking I am when I'm holding it. Again, we're getting personal for me. The more confidence I have and the more accurate I shoot that bow. This bow is the best holding hunting bow that I've ever shot. I took my time. I removed the grip and I added side plates, and I really like the side plates. I slightly shortened my draw. I went from the 85% mods to the 80% mods. I messed with the stabilizers. And what I've come up with is a bow that genuinely holds as steady as any target bow that I've shot. If you've watched my channel, you know that I shot the Traverse for a long time, and that was Mathews 33-inch axle-to-axle bow. And this new V3x, I've had a lot of people message me and ask, is it better than the Traverse? And the answer is yes. Yes, it's better. The last factor, I think, is speed. The ability for it to shoot light arrows, medium arrows, and heavy arrows with the most amount of punch, transferring the most amount of energy with the amount of pounds that myself has been able to transfer into that bow, 75 pounds, 76, 77, whatever I've got it cranked up to. The bow being able to transfer that energy effectively through the platform into the arrow and send it downrange. I haven't speed tested all the bows this year, so I don't know definitively that this is going to be the fastest of the bows. And truthfully, I think just based on how it feels, I don't think it's going to be. Because I think the sacrifices that you have to make to get maximum speed out of a bow reduce the other factors of what makes a bow great. I could get more speed out of this if I took my Dremel and started carving out the cams. Reducing the durability of those cams would make them faster, but the sacrifice would not be worth it. One factor in speed is sound and vibration. Sound, a loud bow, is not transferring the speed into the arrow. What it's doing is saving that energy to create noise. It is a shedding of speed. Same with vibration. And this is one of the most vibration-free platforms that I have ever shot. The new bridge lock system with the sight going through the center of the actual riser, it makes sense. It's the progression of where bows are going to go. They're going to bring the weight from the outside of the bow and the bulk from the outside of the bow to the middle. You're seeing Hoyt do it with either the Picatinny mount or some other variation of that mount, and then you're seeing Mathews do it with the bridge lock, and every other company is going to follow. This allows you to mount your quiver tighter to the bow. When you do that, it allows you to reduce the weight of your back bar, or to bring it in so that the angle isn't out so much to counteract the weight of all this bulk that's sitting out here. It makes the platform much more contained. But it's real expensive, and Mathews is super proud of their accessories. I'll scroll through the website real quick and flash some prices up here. This is probably just something that you're going to have to decide. Are you willing to spend $250 on a quiver? And are you willing to spend $350 to $550 for a sight that you may or may not already own? Now, I've got the Spot Hog running on this one right now, and haven't noticed any issues. That sucker runs straight in there, but it was a sight that I already owned. I already own the Dovetail. If I want to run my Black Golds, I have to order a new Dovetail mount, which I'm going to do. The Stay Afield system, which is basically just a cable, an orange safety cable, that you can essentially compress the cams and then lock this cable on these little nubs that they've added, so that if you have a derailment, you can, in theory, while you're out, still put this back on. I'm personally not going to buy that. I would just kind of figure it out using paracord or using something like that. I'm not going to spend $40 on the actual SOS system. I'm not saying it's not worth it. I'm just saying that's an accessory that I'm not going to buy. The best, hands down, best accessory that I think I've almost ever bought for a bow are Mathews Engage limbs. These stupid little feet that hold the bow at the limb pocket. I'm not joking. If you shoot a lot in your backyard and you're thinking about buying this bow, spend the money on the Engage limbs. I never take them off. It ended up when I was traveling, if I was doing anything where we were whitetail hunting or even my Axis trip that I took last year, the Engage limbs stayed on. When I was sitting in a platform, I'd just set the bow down next to me on top of this platform. If I was crawling through the field, I'd be putting those Engage limbs down and working my way across the field if the bow was vertical. I just found that they are literally is the best accessory that I have found for the Mathews bow. Am I going to replace my tight spot quiver with a Mathews quiver setup this year? Yep. Yes, I am. I don't know why. Maybe it's not as good. I haven't tried it yet. Maybe it's better. I don't know, but I'm going to do it. I like the idea of the two-piece where you can't remove it so that it's forcing me to practice with my quiver on because that's how I'm going to hunt. My only concern is how packable it is. Like if I'm going to fly it in the case, it's two more things that I've essentially got to take off and then stow because it's not going to fit in my actual carrying case that way. So that's inconvenient. But because I don't have the accessory yet, I guess I can't exactly make a call. I hate having to order mods if I want to change my draw length. I hate that. But I wonder if that system, being as beefy as it is and being held in with 2 screws, I've never had one come loose. So I wonder if that's just adding to the durability. It's frustrating to me as somebody who likes to kind of tinker and mess around with stuff. But again, I just wonder, am I trading that ability to tinker for something that is going to be durable and repeatable? And I don't know. I was trying to come up with a list of things that I was like, I don't really like this about the bow. And truthfully, the grip is about the only thing that I almost immediately kind of swapped out because I knew that it was that Engage grip that they'd been using. And I'm not a huge fan of that grip. I'm also not a huge fan of the cutout that they put underneath the riser where your thumb can kind of fit in there because I don't shoot that way and it makes me feel like I'm probably doing something wrong. But these elk-shaped plates that I ordered, which the guys at Elk-Shape didn't give them to me, I ordered them offline and they're great. They create a little bit of a contour for your hand. And although you are grabbing onto an aluminum bow, so it's not as good as the Prime, like when it gets cold out, the Prime grip is awesome when it comes to that part for an aluminum bow. But I think that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make because the shot repeatability out of this thing has been through the roof for me. It has been so good, and it has become so simple for me to pick this thing up and do a cold shot at 80 and feel really confident. I know there's going to be a lot of people that watch this video and they're like, you're just a Mathews shill. Maybe I am. They didn't send me the bow. I paid full price, and I frickin' love it. If you've been thinking about a Mathews V3x this year, 33 or the other little tiny guy, go shoot them, see what you think. But I, for one, I think it's the culmination of what they've been working to for the last 6 years. The V3x 33 is my favorite hunting bow I've ever shot. Am I gonna ruin my outro? That was like, bam. Thanks for watching. I'm Brandon McDonald.